What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tom Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Hey, welcome back to the Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This podcast is sponsored by TonaLaw. If you're an attorney and you're looking for a trusted partner in New York personal injury referrals, TonaLaw has been doing this since 2001. We're the go-to New York personal injury law firm for attorneys and law firms across the U.S. At TonaLaw, we pay legal fee participation, referring attorneys in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. Refer us a case today and experience the TonaLaw difference. Call us now to discuss how we can work together at 844-TonaLaw or visit us at TonaLaw.com. If you're calling because you heard us on the podcast, just mention Lead Counsel when you make the referral, and they will get you on the phone with me. Today's guest is an attorney who's fairly well known, John Uustal. John is one of the founding partners of Kelley Uustal. And I think of all of the lawyers that I've spoken to in my career, let alone forget about the podcast, John is doing really, really rare, interesting work. So I studied your website's beautiful, and I studied your case history, and I studied your YouTube channel. And you're doing such rare, special things at a time when there's so much chatter about the financial side of personal injury, and the motivations are all kind of screwed up for a lot of people. And what you're doing is really inspirational. So I want to say thank you, because I think you're setting the model of what a personal injury trial law firm could be, right?
Wow,
I know it's not easy what you're doing, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, every business has got cash flow. Trial firms, the more cases you try, the more you have a really unreliable cash flow. And so, there's this fear, I think, in everybody that, you got people to pay, the bigger the big firm gets. So there's always this worry, I think, or at least with me, about cash flow. And but the problem is, if you operate from a position of fear, then you don't make the best decisions. And that's particularly true in terms of trial law because, at least in my opinion, the cases that keep regular cash flow are not the cases that you're going to tell your grandkids about or really feel like you had a good life and the world's better because you were a lawyer. So you have to have room to take those cases. And it's a little scary, but I think your people are happier if they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, it transcends that short-term financial concern. Like, yeah, we all have that concern. But I think that at the level you're playing at, and it's funny because I heard Andrew Finkelstein speak, and I know you're friends with Andrew, and he said the same exact thing. You cannot lead from a place of fear. And if you're just running it as a financial business, which I did, listen, for the better part of 10, 15 years even, because we're coming up on our 24th, 25th year, probably for the first half, it was a business, right? And I had tried cases never at the level you did, and I got complacent because I was good at the business side of it. It wasn't until a friend of mine took a $107 million verdict and then meeting somebody like you and somebody like Finkelstein. And I said, listen, I'm doing a disservice to clients if we're not taking cases to trial, right? And I stand by that. So we converted our entire personal injury silo to inspired by people like you.
Wow, that
right?
takes
You're doing the brave thing. And well, listen, I was talking to Patrick Wilson, our mutual friend today, and I was like, I must be insane. At 56 years old, I decided to convert everything over about a year ago. But I will tell you, I sleep better at night, and I've created the kind of law firm that I would want my wife to be able to go to if I was a quadriplegic or in a wheelchair forever or dead, right? Like I wanted to be able to look in the mirror and say we're giving it all to the clients and it's not about the money.
You brought up the case where we represented Flo Rida and why I took that case. And I think there is maybe a lesson, at least that I tried to learn for myself. And it applies to leading people. It applies to getting people excited about a vision. It applies simply to, I think, running a business successfully. But most importantly, it applies to the courtroom. The professional business people that I work with are phenomenal. But one thing that there's always a constant miscommunication is I run a business like a trial team, right? And that's not ideal in every situation. I'll give you a perfect example. In trial, in the courtroom, you have to make quick decisions with limited information. So trial lawyers have a tendency to do the same in business, but you don't have the same time constraint. You can get more information, and you should, before you make a decision. So there are disadvantages to thinking that way. But if I had to say, what is it about what I'm doing that has given me a certain level of success in the courtroom, particularly in taking cases that other people don't? That's what we track. That's what I'm most proud of. If a case has been turned down by other law firms and we take it and win it, I'm proud of that. We even have cases that have been turned down by more than 10 law firms, which it seems crazy. Like, why do clients not give up, at a certain point? But some clients don't. They can't. There's a child and, they just keep trying and trying. And if we take cases like that, and we have more than 10 and won them and won big results for really catastrophically injured people, that makes me feel good. So what do we do that lets us take cases like that, or the Flo Rida case, like see it differently? And there's a concept in Zen Buddhism. There's a guy in the 1950s, a Japanese Zen monk, who said to the beginner, there are many paths. To the expert, few. So in Zen, they try to cultivate beginner mind. It's called beginner mind. But if you really think about that, it applies to so much of what we do. To the expert, there are a few paths. So when a case comes in, an expert trial lawyer can tell pretty quickly that there's a 90, 95, 99% chance this isn't a case. So boom, right? This isn't a case, but a 90% chance or even a 99% chance that it's not a case is not the same thing as 100%. But as experts, we start to use our knowledge to make decisions, and usually that's good. But in some situations, we should step back and say, can we look at this case differently? That's what we did with the Flo Rida case. I don't think the defense thought we were going to ask for more than $5 million. In fact, I was so sure of it, I was looking at the defense lawyers when I gave the number they asked to see, because I value that, right? That's what I value, doing something that other people don't see. So anyway, it's a long answer to your question. I apologize for that, but you can cultivate that skill. First of all, just trying to see things differently than other people, or see things that other people can't. And in a courtroom, it's a superpower. But it also is really valuable when you're trying to lead people, because you're telling them something different, seeing things different than other people are telling them and seeing things. And also it would opportunities in business.
So I got to ask a question that's kind of off script already, but what is it inside of you? Head, heart, or briefcase? Like, my business mind works like, okay, I'm going to evaluate cases and I want to provide the right service for the clients, but I also know that you can't always help everybody. What is it inside of you that says 10 firms turn this down? I know we can do differently. Like, what is it? Did something happen to you familial or something from your childhood? Like, what is in that brain of yours that makes you see these things that 10 other law firms would pass on? Because again, I'm not going to assume that these other law firms are bad or they're inadequate or stupid.
No.
I pass on cases, right? I mean, we all do, but what is it inside of you that allows you to see these things and then see them through to the results that you do?
That's kind of a personal question.
I know. That's why I asked it.
There's a couple of things in there. So I'll answer that one first about, like, what is it in me? Like, I tell people, new lawyers, when we're interviewing them or looking to work with us, that it appears to me that every great trial lawyer I know is kind of a little bit broken in one way or another. And usually it has something to do with a chip on your shoulder or a desperate need to prove yourself. Now, where does that come from? I know I had a good childhood. In fact, I don't know why I had this desperate need to prove myself, to prove everything to everyone, but I did. I don't know where it came from. But so, that's part of it.
This podcast is sponsored by TonaLaw. Attorneys, are you looking for a trusted partner for your New York personal injury referrals? Since 2001, TonaLaw has been the go-to New York personal injury law firm for attorneys and law firms across the U.S. At TonaLaw, we pay legal fee participation to referring attorneys in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. Refer us a case today and experience the TonaLaw difference. Call us now to discuss how we can work together at 844-TONA-LAW or visit us at TonaLaw.com.
The rarefied approach that you're taking is inspirational. And I think that people coming out of law school specifically are going to benefit from that, because the money is a byproduct of doing excellent things and excellent work, right? So guys like you, your firm, the ladies in your firm, and the Ryan McKeans of the world, and the Andrew Finkelsteins of the world. He's kind of an anomaly too. Like, he's this brilliant business guy, but that guy's still taking these monster verdicts, still doing great trial work. And I think, did you guys found the trial school together?
Andrew, the first 4 lawyers who founded it, Andrew wasn't one of the first, but he's running it now. He's doing a phenomenal job. He got in very early. He's been so generous with his time, with money. And the trial school is, lawyers need to get better. I won't get into that, but just go down to your courthouse and watch some opening statements. And I was a juror, and lawyers need to get better. That's all I'll say. And the trial school is a way, I think, for lawyers who represent real people, right? Look, I'm sure that lawyers who represent corporations need to get better too, but there's a famous quote from Clarence Darrow when he was defending himself from a bribery charge, and he said something like, "I have lived my life and fought my battles against power, not against the poor, not against the oppressed. Anybody can do that. I have asked no odds from them, and I never will." Well, so I don't care. Anybody can do what they're doing and make a lot of money at it. And maybe they need to get better too. But that's not what trial school is about. Trial school is about helping people lawyers who represent real people and helping them get better. So it's all free. And Andrew's been just phenomenal with that.
I am fascinated by what you're doing. What I started to say earlier to you is I know some 9-figure players, and there is no weird connotation to that. It's 100% complimentary. To me, that's a way of saying, look, if you want to understand what somebody has accomplished, I kind of use the 9-figure financial analysis as when I say somebody's 8-figure. That's in quantified comparison to how many businesses actually generate 7 figures in the US, or how many figures generate 8 figures, and how rare it is to then be doing what you're doing, right? What's really interesting is you're doing it with single event cases, where I know some 9-figure players in the mass tort space, very good friends of mine. It's a different business model, right? I do invest in the mass tort space, but to do it in single event, man, whatever it is that is broken, that causes you to keep that hunger going, that drive that you have, the world would be lesser without it. So whatever the sacrifices were, no, I'm being serious, dude. How many attorneys that will listen to this will ever say, I changed a product in the marketplace that saves lives? I washed the gas tank explosion cases that you handled. Cars are safer because of you and your firm.
Yeah, that's not to get off on another topic, but that was the first trial I ever had, and it was with my partner. I wasn't his partner then, but my partner, Bob Kelley. And I was naive before that case, but it really changed my life because it opened my eyes to the fact that no matter what the engineers are saying in a manufacturing company, it's us that can make the management say yes to what the engineers want. It's us. Right. We have to change the math. The lawsuits have to cost more than fixing the product, fixing the defect. And, I hate that that's true. I didn't think that was the world we lived in. But if that was a little bit the world we lived in the 90s, oh my God, it's way worse today. It is so much worse today. You look at that Flo Rida case, and I'm not talking about that case specifically, but just in general. I'd say it's normal business practice now for big companies to breach contracts if they think it'd be cheaper to pay the lawsuit. It's not even like, oh, we promised, we signed. That's not even in the calculation. What is cheaper? Just breach the contract. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, but I think that there was a time when Americans were better in some ways. I'm not stupid. Like, I understand the advances, like how horrible things were for so many groups of people. If you go back to the 50s and 60s and 70s, and how great the advances are. But that can be true. And it can also be true that when you look at working people and how hard it is for working people, that it got way harder in that same time period because big companies and billionaires took a power that they did not have in America before then, and they used it in an amoral way, in an immoral way, in an evil way. So, I know they don't see it like that because it's cultural. All the business people they know are making similar decisions, and that's who they talk to. But if they could go into the neighborhoods like the one I grew up in and see the ramifications of the millionaires becoming billionaires, they could see the ramifications of that on the working poor. I don't know if I read this somewhere or where I got this, but as soon as I heard it, the light bulb went off in my head. The working class became the working poor so that millionaires could become billionaires. Is that a good thing for our country? Is that the decision?
Right.
Because I don't think the judges and the politicians who were making the decisions wanted that. I hope they didn't, but that's what we got.
Well, and if you liken it to an organization, right? Like I know your core value, put it in the notes here somewhere. I can go right through it, but you're taking on cases that can't be won for families that can't afford to lose. I mean, if that is your singular core value, which I'm sure you have other ones, but if that is your singular one, I mean, that encompasses everything, and you live it, you breathe it, and your whole organization stands for it.
A lot of things I'm telling you about, like when I'm training young lawyers, I often tell them, I say, okay, I'm going to teach you something. This is like a superpower. You better use it for good, right? Don't take a case because you think you can make money on it if it's not a righteous case, because you will be lost. You will become lost both as a human being and you'll lose your superpowers. There's something in you that, if you know you're right and this case deserves to be won. I got a case that's going to trial soon, and I did something that everyone warned me. It's in another state. And they said, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to get everyone mad at you. Everybody from this judge to the Supreme Court. And yeah, but I'm right. And I've got this case deserves to be won. So we're doing it. Right. So I don't take commercial cases unless I really believe in them for two reasons. One, like I said, they'll kick your ass from pillar to post. I don't know where I heard that, but I love that saying. For years before you get in the courtroom. And it's very aggressive and this high level of animosity usually that I don't see in injury cases. They all hate each other, apparently. I think they make a lot of money writing letters to each other about how much they suck. But also because I know I'm going to win. So, do I want to spend my case on my time, my limited time as I get older in my career on a case just for money? Or is there something more? And when I met Flo Rida, he said, this case is about respect, right? Are they going to get away with treating me like this? Like they can get away with it because of where I grew up in Miami, by the way, near outside Miami. So that was a case about respect. And it wasn't an $83 million case until we got done with it. But there's no doubt in my mind that we should have won that case. So the gift that was given to me, how can I pass that on? So we try to do it inside my firm, but I have a way less trials than I used to because there's way less trials, and they take longer. And this idea of Built Different came to me. An academy, it doesn't just have to be for lawyers in our firm. And ideally, it's law students, right? Because I want to inspire a bunch of people all around the country to go back wherever they get their job, wherever law firm they go to, that they walk into there with the hunger to make a difference in real people's lives on our side, right? The side of real people, not the side of power and money. They have to already have the hunger. That's a big thing about the application process, which I think ends in 2 weeks. They have to show me they already have the hunger, but then I want to help inspire them to keep that no matter who tries to beat it out of them. And then I want to give them, you walk into your first firm and whatever happens there seems normal, right? They cheat and they lie. Well, you assume every lawyer cheats and lies, right? So I want to give them a sense of that you can have a superpower, but you better use it for good. And then last, and maybe least important, is start them teaching them the road to have those superpowers. So, and I'm going to do more about this over the next few years. I'm going to expand it to lawyers in practice and all of it nonprofit, all expenses paid, law students. I remember law school. I couldn't afford to go to some stupid seminar on trial skills. So all expenses paid. It's totally nonprofit. But I hope that in 20 years, when I look back, I'm going to say that lawyer, that lawyer, that lawyer. Like that's how I've made a mark on, and each one of them has changed lives. So I'm excited about it. I hope we can pull it off.
Yeah, I think that, again, it's such an admirable mission that you're on. And you are built differently. Your firm is built differently. You are doing stuff that is so rare. It's almost hard for me to calibrate it. And I'm never at a loss for words. Thank you for setting that bar because it makes us all better, right? And you're changing the world. I know that's what you wanted to do and that's what you're doing. So I appreciate it, man. You are built differently. You are built differently. So thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by TonaLaw. Attorneys, are you looking for a trusted partner for your New York personal injury referrals? Since 2001, TonaLaw has been the go-to New York personal injury law firm for attorneys and law firms across the U.S. At TonaLaw, we pay legal fee participation to referring attorneys in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. Refer us a case today and experience the TonaLaw difference. Call us now to discuss how we can work together at 844-TonaLaw or visit us at TonaLaw.com.